Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's another positive week. 6.2% up, or £26,000. Very, very nice. It is, I think we would have to say, alt season, altcoin week at least, given, sort of, spoiler alert, Bitcoin is up less than 1%, and given I'm 59.2% Bitcoin, the altcoins have to sort of do quite a bit to gain that sort of green week. So, yeah, interesting. Looking at the coin shares report, we knew this was going to be big because we had the two record-breaking days in a row, which was very solid. Into Bitcoin, of course, this week was $3.7 billion. Ethereum obviously starting to drive that up as well. Bitcoin up 2.73 billion in inflows, and Ethereum almost notching a billion, which looks like it will do in tomorrow's report. So yeah, some good numbers elsewhere. Solana 92.6 million, which is quite a lot of quite a high percentage of AUM, and 104 million outflow from XRP. So that's quite interesting. It sort of erases almost all of the large move in the opposite direction that I'd been reporting. XRP sort of outperforming Solana. So yeah, we'll see with this altcoin week what has happened tomorrow. But yeah, thought that was a positive sign. 3.5 million into Sui, a little bit into Cardano, and a little bit into short Bitcoin, and some others, of course. By country, we did have Germany and Sweden, I think, having some sort of reasonably good weeks last few weeks, and Germany outflow of 85 million. So yeah, that's quite chunky. 65 into Switzerland, and then some smaller sort of numbers elsewhere. Obviously, US is by far the biggest. And looking at what we've had this week on Bitcoin side, it is sort of pretty much the BlackRock show at the moment. Everyone else sort of mixed numbers, really. But yeah, you had sort of 394, 400, 760, 490, 490 again. So yeah, very, very solid numbers. A little bit going into Grayscale, the new Grayscale, but bigger outflows out of the old Grayscale. So they are net down. Some of the smaller ones, sort of Franklin and Vanek, sort of getting some reasonable inflows. Not a lot of red days on there, but ARK cannot seem to hold on to their Bitcoin for any amount of time. Net outflow week for them. Similarly for Fidelity as well. So yeah, the only player really getting out there is BlackRock, despite sort of other people supposedly having meetings with fund managers and all sorts. They are still struggling. The Larry Fink machine carries on. And similarly on Ethereum, the BlackRock ETFs really starting to put some numbers in. I think they were looking at sort of 200-300 million a day when they launched, and everything was sort of, a lot of hype around it. But they've started putting in, 150, 170, and then Wednesday 500 million, and Thursday 546, and just under 400 on the Friday. That Thursday, a lot of people have reported that the Ethereum BlackRock ETF had a higher inflow than their Bitcoin ETF. Actually had higher than all of the Bitcoin ETFs put together. Thursday was, I think, 522 million. So BlackRock's ETH ETF taking more than all the Bitcoin ones, which is very much notable. Friday had a little bit of outflow from Fidelity and Grayscale, although 65 million into the new Grayscale. So Grayscale overall are net up with all of this inflow, and yeah, that is some pretty big numbers. And these sort of numbers being similar to what Bitcoin's doing has a much greater impact on Ethereum, with it being smaller market cap and quite a lot of it staked, of course. And the Solana one still only got just the one, so it's not going to be huge, but yeah, some inflow into there. A couple of 0 days and 3 million, and then Thursday and Friday started to pick up 8 million and 11.4 again. Not sort of quite up at the high levels they had, but yeah, okay to have a little bit more going in there. And looking at the corporate inflows, Mr. Saylor obviously reports on all of them. A little bit less. Well, last week's message wasn't cryptic, but some people were reporting that he was teasing a purchase, and it wasn't. And yeah, this week he said some weeks you don't just hodl. So that is a purchase, of course. Metaplanet bought 797, not quite as much as they'd been buying, but still a decent amount for them, 16,350, and they have ticked over $100,000 average, so that's not particularly good. Sequans 683 Bitcoin, pretty solid. They're at 113,893 average, which is pretty much current price, so they'll be one of the ones that are risky, in the bear market potentially. It's something to keep in mind. Blockchain Group 29 Bitcoin, so not huge amounts. Some other people, K33 36 Bitcoin, and then the MicroStrategy buy was 4,225, so a pretty big buy, 470 million. A lot of people sort of saying that these convertible debt offerings and that sort of thing are now sort of struggling to get funding. Demand may have sort of dried up a little for it. MicroStrategy are of course doing the preferred shares and dividend shares and that sort of thing, sort of ATM, just issuing ordinary MicroStrategy shares when they think there's demand, and yeah, doing a combination to sort of keep this ball rolling. Our big UK one, the Smarter Web company, trading at an astronomical valuation to their Bitcoin, of course. They bought 325, so yeah, a lot of people are sort of focusing on this, year-to-date yield, like 39,000%, 419% in the last 30 days. If you've only got sort of 1,300 and you buy 300, that's a huge percentage gain, but they're not going to be able to do it forever because they're only a small company. But yeah, people are sort of piling into that. H100, 75 Bitcoin. So there's plenty of companies out there keen to do it. Semler Scientific, 210, and yeah, it's what everyone's focusing on at the moment. 57.5 from Digital X. And there's your summary. So 58 different announcements totaling 7,700 Bitcoin. 4 new companies launched with 817. 17 future treasuries. Although you're starting to get sort of companies launched with Bitcoin that people are just putting in. They're not actually going and buying it on the market. I think you had Adam Back put I think 30,000 Bitcoin into one of these companies, so that's a very large amount, but it doesn't really affect price, you would think, although I'm guessing that's him wanting to sell some of his Bitcoin, or at least gain some liquidity on it, and he could have sold it on the open market, so it's maybe avoiding sell pressure, and the pressure will be on the stock of that company rather than Bitcoin itself. So yeah, a little bit strange how Bitcoin now sort of starts to move with more and more of these companies. On the, as I say, one side you could see it as less sell pressure, but then on the flip side, there's money that may have gone into Bitcoin now going into these companies, which people bidding up this company that already has 30,000 Bitcoin from Adam Back. That money could have been used to buy Bitcoin on the market, which you would think would push price up. So a little bit of a dislocation maybe in the market. So this was the big news for the week. The Genius Stablecoin Act finally went through everything and has been signed by President Trump. So that was pretty good. A lot of people are saying that it's quite a sensible regulation. It sort of somewhat bans non-financial companies from issuing tokens. So you've got sort of Amazon and Walmart and people like that saying they want to issue their own coin. In theory, the act sort of prevents them from doing it just as they are, whether they want to set up some sort of financial subsidiary and then use that. Don't know. But yeah, you also had the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act, as widely seen as likely to have the biggest effects. That is sort of how you register, whether you're a security or not, and sort of the uncertainty that has been on the space for sort of the last 3 or 4 years, and certainly under Gary Gensler. So yeah, the stablecoin bill is good, but the Clarity Act is sort of more important. A lot of people saying we shouldn't, be sort of rushing through the Clarity Act and end up with a poor legislation. It might be best just to take a bit of time on it and sort of make comments and, maybe sort of revise it a few times, rather than sort of people wanting to pump their bags and just sort of get something through and have that good news of it going through, potentially at the detriment of it actually being any good. And thirdly, the Anti-Central Bank Digital Currency Surveillance State Act. That's quite a mouthful. Trump has sort of pretty much always been anti-CBDC, or at least sort of he sees that plays well with the crypto crowd, so he's sort of made that his stance. And yeah, you think that sort of goes through relatively easily. You've had Fed Jerome Powell and sort of various people saying that they're not looking to do a CBDC anytime soon, and it's just more I think Elizabeth Warren camp, the anti-crypto army, that would want to do that. So could probably see that going through reasonably easily and could get overturned and sort of removed later on if they want to do it. I'm sure there's a way to remove that without too much hassle. We also had Trump looking to push crypto more into pensions, talking about an executive order to allow 401k retirement plans to invest in assets other than stocks and bonds, because it seems that is all they're allowed to at the moment, so they can't sort of directly invest in commodities and private equity and all sorts of stuff. It looks like this is sort of expanding it not just to crypto but to other things like that, commodities and various other things. Whether there'll be sort of you could see it two ways. It might sort of get pushed through because people want to invest in private equity, for example, and crypto gets to sort of stealth its way through that, or those other things could be a barrier, and it might have been easier if it was just crypto, but we'll have to see. And remembering that an executive order is not law, it's just sort of temporary basically while Trump is in power, and maybe not even for that full time, but certainly for sort of the next 6 months to a year. People still sort of expecting the bull market to continue. That could be good for it. And Paul Atkins, the SEC chair, is basically saying, investors should know what they're putting their money into, but he looks forward to seeing what might come of it. He's obviously very sort of open towards crypto, so yeah, we'll have to see. And the expectations, obviously, you have people like Fidelity have already introduced these retirement accounts. Not sure what the take up is. It's only been since April, so haven't really seen too much. But yeah, IRAs and Roth IRAs and things, which is sort of their equivalent to our ISAs. So yeah, we'll have to see how many people take it up. I do like to just keep an eye on the helium stats, becoming one of my bigger altcoin positions now, and yeah, the user numbers are still kicking up. They did introduce the free tier, so that was when this sort of user base Helium mobile signups started to sharply increase. I think that was It was, I can't remember whether it was April or February, but you sort of see a reasonable tick up and then a very sharp tick up. I think it probably was April. Yeah, towards sort of 339,000, and yeah, daily users is sort of higher than that. I think that's including the people using other networks and it being offloaded to Helium Mobile. And yeah, you see data transfer, sort of carrier offload up to 40 terabytes a day. So that's pretty strong, new high, and a new high of 1.284 million users. So very strong. And the token has been somewhat outperforming off the back of this. You get more hotspots as well. It does go through fits and starts of increases in hotspots, and you had a little increase in that, sort of 98,000 beginning of July up to 101,500. So yeah, looking good. Looking at Bitcoin hash rate for the miners, we've sort of still in this very erratic up and down on the hash rate, which it didn't seem to have before. Earlier this week, you had another enormous spike to 1.2 zeta hash, I guess we're calling it. It's all happened in the end of June, and yeah, doesn't help that difficulty. So yeah, it's sort of come down, and I think has been sort of more broadly down since the last adjustment. So has helped somewhat. Looking at the difficulty chart, we're obviously back up into this level that we were at before the 30th of June, 29th of June time. And yeah, block time is a little slow, nothing sort of too much. You had that, as I say, spike up to 1.2 zeta hash, so that will have pushed a ton of blocks through. But yeah, at the moment, Saturday, July 26th, they're reporting a 1.15% drop, but that'll change between now and then. Would have been nice for a little bit more of a drop, just to give the miners a little bit of a boost. We saw more, I think, France looking to potentially buy some rigs and start mining themselves. They have an excess of nuclear power, so it's essentially free power and government mining, so there's no tax to pay or anything. It's just infinitely more efficient than public companies mining with paid for rigs, and well, they have to buy everyone has to buy the rigs, I suppose, but yeah, paid for electricity. So I am keen to, on bullish moves in the miners, probably take profit and get out maybe even earlier than my other crypto, but we'll have to see. And my favorite chart at the moment, the liquidity chart, global M2 advanced by 12 weeks, so push the M2 forward 12 weeks. That's why it sort of goes into October. A lot of people see this chart and sort of think this section is sort of an estimate of global M2. It's not an estimate. It's basically that point that the end of this line is sort of Friday, or today, but nothing's really happening on a Sunday, and you just moved it forward 12 weeks. So that it appears to be sort of how long it takes for liquidity to enter the crypto space. It wasn't quite as tightly correlated before the ETFs. That's why I'm sort of taking it from 2024 onwards. I think the ETFs have sort of made it more institutionalized, and they're sort of putting money, I guess, maybe putting money quicker into crypto than it used to be. And you've got that continued bid from BlackRock and the like, although mainly BlackRock. So yeah, it's liquidity has been sort of pushing up the last few months, so it is given a nice push up for the next few months, albeit it topped sort of a fortnight ago, really. You can see 12th of October back to 23rd of September has sort of been a couple of down weeks. So potentially, if we do get a reasonable move up in the next few weeks, probably looking to take a a reasonable amount of profit. Also suits my sort of retirement goals. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens, whether I take it off crypto itself or maybe off some of the miners. I've obviously got my herein position is getting quite large. Sort of Hive and CleanSpark and people like that maybe sort of lagging a little bit behind. But we'll have to see if some AI deals come through and sort of who gets those. But yeah, certainly Bitcoin, I sort of said a couple of weeks ago, Bitcoin needed a reasonably sharp move up quite soon to sort of keep pace with this increase in liquidity, and it got half of that. Went up to 123 and have sort of come back again, and it sort of kind of needs another move up if it's going to keep pace. Sort of end of July. You basically end of July liquidity shot right up to a Bitcoin implied price of like 146,000. So yeah, being at 118, yeah, it kind of wants a reasonable push up there in the next couple of weeks. I suppose it could lag, but yeah, and it is still showing us sort of September time, mid to late September at 186,000. So yeah, could be a little bit optimistic, but we'll see. Could overshoot it for all we know. So, coins for the week, as I say, alt season somewhat. Bitcoin up 0.83% for the week. We've obviously had some moves in currency as well, so that has an effect on all of them. But yeah, Solana 10.8%. Ethereum is the standout performer for the week, actually, 25.2%. So very, very strong for them. Chainlink, 24%, just slightly behind. Helium, 20.3%. Gito up 3.6%, and Radium up 4.3%, so not quite as good. Metaplex up 23.2%, and Honey up 11%, although still very, very much in the red. So not ideal. I haven't reordered these. Radium has gone a reasonable amount above Metaplex, which yeah, kind of expected that. I think I put quite a bit more into Radium initially, but yeah, we'll see how these move. It's pushed up to 447, I see. But yeah, I'll still call it 445 because it's pinging around various prices at the moment. So yeah, let me know how you guys are getting on. If you're in profit, if you've got any some of these hot tokens at the moment, and like and subscribe. See you soon.